This week in Jamaica Now, arrested. 2 JDF corporals locked up after a gunfight in a big ganja bust. Former CMU consultant released from police custody after being held at Kingston Airport. Why the burial of reggae legend Toots Hibbert had to be abandoned. A happy ending. A 12-year-old girl is rescued from raging waters in a flooded gully. Corporate area roads collapse. A motorist escapes injury in one case. Met Service on alert for possible weather system next week. And tougher penalties coming for having contraband in prison. I'm Jovan Johnson and this is Jamaica Now. A major probe is now underway in the Jamaican Army after 2 soldiers were this week arrested in a big ganja bust in St. Elizabeth. The soldiers, both corporals, were intercepted during an intelligence-led operation in Gutta, St. Elizabeth. They were travelling in a marked JDF service vehicle laden with more than 1,500 pounds of ganja when the police signalled them to stop about 9:30 on Tuesday night. However, the soldiers disobeyed, instead opening fire at the police. Following a high-speed chase, they eventually surrendered.
It is important to note that there were no JDF weapons involved in the incident, and that from the point of leaving up our camp to when the vehicle was intercepted in St. Elizabeth, it was under observation. Yesterday's operation was a demonstration, the operation on Tuesday was a demonstration of the JDF's robust internal monitoring system, as well as the strong partnership between ourselves and the JCF.
Both remain in police custody. In the meantime, 4 other soldiers are being interviewed as part of the JDF's internal probe. The Director of Public Prosecutions is to determine whether former Caribbean Maritime University CMU consultant Gail Dunwell Campbell is to be criminally charged in relation to a major scandal at the institution. Ms. Dunwell Campbell was detained on Tuesday night as she arrived at the Norman Manley International Airport in Kingston. On Wednesday, her lawyers went to court seeking her immediate release. But Dunwell Campbell was released that same afternoon after being interviewed by investigators of the Financial Investigations Division. Her attorneys have since discontinued the court action, seeking her release. Last year, it was revealed that Campbell Dunwell had signed a 2-year $20 million contract to serve as a donor consultant for the CMU. At the time, she was also being paid $3.5 million annually as a donor consultant for the National Education Trust, an entity that falls under the Education Ministry. In June last year, it was revealed that at the end of year 1 of the CMU contract, Campbell Dunwell was paid just under $15 million, or 3/4 of the total contract value. The burial of legendary reggae singer Toots Hibbert had to be abandoned on Thursday as the family could not produce an order authorizing the interment. Following a private service at the chapel of the Perry's Funeral Home in St. Catherine, close family members travelled to the Dovecote Memorial Gardens for the interment when it was discovered that there was no burial permit. Burial orders are obtained from the Registrar General's Department after a certificate of the cause of death signed by a doctor is presented. The undertakers and the officiating minister, Pastor Christine Flowers, waited for several minutes as Toots's family searched for the burial order, but none could be provided. At that point, the funeral director was forced to return the body of the country road singer to the morgue. Toots, who was 77, died at the University Hospital of the West Indies on September 11, nearly 2 weeks after he tested positive for COVID-19. It was a happy ending for a 12-year-old girl and her family in St. Andrew this week as her child was rescued from the flooded sandy gully in the community of West Bay Farm Road. The child was crossing the gully when water came rushing down, forcing her to seek refuge on a pile of rubble. That's when an alarm was raised.
Them call the police, them call the soldier and the fire brigade. When they take a stop, them couldn't help call, look most to the soldier them was shooting.
A group of men then climbed down into the gully from another section and managed to rescue her.
I feel good for save her, for save a person's life, you can live to see her next day. You know, they feel good said when ourselves. We finish the job and then get her out of the water.
I thank God that she got cross because I have 3 granddaughters. I'm going to like to see something like that happen to them.
Meanwhile, there were several corporate area traffic disruptions this week as at least 4 roadways collapsed. On Arthurwin Drive, a water main was ruptured, sending thousands of gallons of water into the air. At least 1 motorist escaped injuries. Later, a section of the westbound lane of the Washington Boulevard collapsed. Motorists had to use the eastbound lane and other alternatives. There was also the collapse of a section of the Olympic Way in St. Andrew near the Portia Simpson Miller Square, leaving a truck damaged. 2 days later, it was discovered that there were also problems at Colleyville Drive off the Washington Boulevard. An entire section had collapsed in the vicinity of a sewerage system. The Meteorological Service of Jamaica is closely monitoring the region amid projections that a weather system could develop sometime next week, which could affect Jamaica. At present, there is no system, and it is too early to indicate whether a system will actually develop as projected by various models. However, the Met Office said if the system develops and moves into the region of Jamaica, that would be around next week, Thursday or Friday.
Of course, that is one possibility, but there are other models that are predicting other things, and we continue to bear all these in mind as we make our projections and pass these out to the public. Bear in mind that the conditions are closely being monitored, and you will be updated as soon as anything develops from this system.
The government is warning that tougher laws are coming to penalize persons who take contraband, especially electronic devices, into correctional centers. Senator Matthew Samuda, the minister without portfolio with responsibility for the correctional service, says the proposed law is expected to be tabled and approved by Parliament within 3 months. He made it clear that under the new law, the smuggling of contraband into prisons will attract serious penalties. Senator Samuda noted that the current Corrections Act is archaic and the ministry would take to Cabinet for approval shortly new legislation governing the correctional services. He said that this proposed law would create a modern legal framework for the correctional services. In March, the Department of Correctional Services had said that sanctions would be laid against murder convict Adidja Palmer, better known as Vibes Cartel, following the seizure of contraband in his cell. And that's it for this edition of Jamaica Now, your weekly review of the big news stories. Send us your comments at onlinefeedback@gleanerjm.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Jamaica Gleaner and on Facebook at Gleaner Jamaica. Like this video on our YouTube page, turn on your notification and subscribe today. I'm Jovan Johnson, and before we go, more on the story of the 12-year-old girl rescued from flooded Sandy Gully in the community of West Bay Farm Road.
She and somebody there over there, sir.
What them do, play or something?
No, they might do some work, but like the gully come down and she a come cross.
So tell me what happened, how did they get her out?
One next youth from up there, sir, and 2 more youth come cross, and them youth up until them reach cross, and a youth named Billy lift her up and bring her across. So them gone back round. Them gone around, them all come around.
In my house and my son come and say, Mommy, Marisa wash way. And I run out, when I run out, I come see her in the gully. I have 5 youth from the community go down in the gully and help and tie rope and carry her across.